Welcome to our podcast, Learn Biblical Greek, brought to you by Dr. William Stewart, the co-founder of Teleios. This captivating podcast teaches you biblical Greek through a verse-by-verse study of the book of Ephesians, interjecting Greek grammar, Greek word meanings, and vital theology concepts. Thanks for joining us on this exciting biblical journey. Your study will be more effective if you use the Greek text with the Bible word codes, either on the eSword download or Bible Hub website. These links are on our podcast website at www.teleiosresearch.com.
Hi, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleios. Welcome back to our podcast on learning biblical Greek. We're in chapter 5 of the book of Ephesians, this great epistle written by the Apostle Paul, detailing so efficiently so much about salvation, Christ, and the Christian walk. We are in the Christian walk section in chapter 5. Paul has just finished telling the Ephesians that they have the fruits of righteousness, or tell them to have this. They walk in the light and reprove the things of darkness. Don't talk about them. So we come to a transition verse today, and let's go to the text in verse 15. Open up that Greek text, please, and let's do some Greek and Bible. Blepete, first word. So this is blepo, to see. To look has an abstract meaning here of look out or be careful to do. And it is in the present active imperative, the command mood. So it has, you can see here the TE ending, giving you second person plural, that E connector, which is part of the vowel connector in the present, future, and second aorist, most commonly in the future or in the present tense, however. This is the same form as the second person plural active indicative. So, and that's true generally with these present tense verbs, that they're the same form as the imperative in the second person plural. So you have to determine by context. What helps you here contextually is that the word is first in the sentence. So look, or be careful, or discern. Therefore. So in English, of course, this would come first. Therefore, it's a logical connector from the prior thought, basing what comes after on what went before. So we just talked about, Paul was telling them how to live, the people of the light and not of the darkness, reprove such things. You're to have fruits of the Spirit. So he's going, therefore, but of course it comes as the second word in the phrase. Pos is how. It can be a question word. In this case, describes how they're going to live. Akribos, and pos here is acting as an adverb. Akribos is careful, to observe, take care of details, diligent. So basically careful. See, is it that you're careful? And then walk. So it is peripatao. And again, working through this verb, we see there's a prefix. Para. Patao is the root word, or patae, that ends in an E, epsilon. The connecting vowel, of course, in this case, being second person plural, would also be an E. So it's EE at the end of the root, and the connecting vowel in the present tense here. And of course, that contracts, EE contracts to EI, pretty common contraction. TE, again, is that second person plural. In this case, it's active indicative in the present tense. So walk not may me is not. It's sort of the soft not, and used in negative commands for probably politeness. Os, as, almost a cognate. Os is always as, basically. Asophrene, so unwise. So not as unwise. O-I-N, of course, is the nominative masculine plural. And we'll come back to the word wisdom in just a second. Allah is but here. It's al only because the next word starts with a vowel. So for pronunciation's sake, Allah, as Run says, it's a contrast, meaning but. Generally, what follows is preferred over what went before. And we see that in this case, that being wise is better than being unwise. Sophie, so again, this contrast with asophi, wise as an adjective, O-I-N again as a nominative plural masculine. Wisdom in the New Testament, I think you could take it as a secular meaning. Otherwise, into the secular Greeks during this time, it meant the proper application of knowledge. So just not knowledge, but knowing how to use it. But in the New Testament, wisdom is also Christ, as 1 Corinthians 1 at the end of the chapter. And I think reflected in James 3 at the end of the chapter. Christ is the wisdom of God for us. So what he says is our primary source. And of course, we apply it appropriately. So what do we have? Therefore, see how carefully you walk. Or see then you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. See then that you walk carefully, attentively, could be diligently. I think just in general, it's talking about that we're not to stumble forward in life without thought, but to look out what's in front of us using the light of Scripture, over which we just talked about, sort of as our moral flashlight to see what's there, see what would trip us up into sin, whether sexually or fraud, violence, abuse, anger, and recognize it and don't do it. And it will keep you out of a lot of trouble. Otherwise, sin is best avoided prospectively, not afterwards, though we have a gracious God, not afterwards, so where things can be so difficult to heal. If you're focusing on the good things, you won't do the bad things, and you'll produce good things. All right, thanks for joining me today. That's a great verse. We'll have some other ones here in the next couple of videos. Please join me then.